Hello, welcome to this video on separating logic and visuals. So the topic of this tutorial is the importance of separating the logic and the visuals, and we're just going to be placing the logic on the parents and the visuals on the children. So we're going to have some parent-child relationship with game objects, and we're going to make sure that we set it up in a way that's going to allow us to keep coding the logic in the future without the visuals getting in the way and causing us problems. So this video is mostly going to be a challenge. I'm going to start you off by noticing that the player here is not an empty game object, right? So that's, you're wondering, what is an empty game object? Well, if you right click in the hierarchy and you go to create empty, so that's right at the top of this create list here, and I'm going to name this player, okay, and put that player at 0, 0, 0, and maybe even you can move it back on the Z so it's kind of lined up with where the player is. There's an empty player. I'm going to just encourage you to do that with me, and then the rest of the video is going to be a challenge where I want you to make this empty game object that's going to be the parent. I want you to move the player and the camera and this this new 3D model, move them around so that the logic components are on the parent, or attached, like the logic components are actually on the parent game object, and then the visual components are children of that parent. So I'm going to, and the camera can be a child of the parent as well. So I'm going to encourage you to pause the video. This might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know. Just give it a shot, and when you unpause, we will come back and do it together. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to give that a challenge a try. Let's take a look at the player first of all and see what are the logic components and what are the visual components. So on the player, we have this mesh renderer and this capsule, that's this mesh. Now if I uncheck mesh renderer on the player, that actually takes away that visual capsule, but notice there's actually this green shape left. That's the collider, right? So there's actually two shapes here. There's the visual shape and there's the collision shape. So the collision shape is a logic component, and I'm going to call this mesh renderer, that's going to be a visual component. So actually I don't even need this mesh renderer anymore. What I'm going to do is actually just well, I'll disable it for now. You can remove it eventually if you want, but I'm going to disable that. And on the player here, you can either go add a collider. So for example, capsule collider, right? And that's going to put some default capsule collider down. You see it's kind of spherical right now, actually. You can make it taller. But I'll undo that, and you can actually just go to the player and click on capsule collider on these three dots on the right hand side. Go to copy component and go to the empty game object. Click on the three dots on beside transform or beside any component and click paste component as new. And that's going to put that capsule collider on that empty game object, so with the same properties as it had before. And I can take this game object and raise it up, right? So this game object has this logic component on it. Let's go back to the player. Okay, there's not only this mesh and this collider, there's also the movement script and this rigid body. So those are both logic components. This is moving the player and this is some physics. So let's click on these three dots on movement. I'm going to copy component, go to this empty game object and paste component as new. There's the movement script, and do the same thing for the rigid body. So what we're doing right now is we're putting in a little bit of work to go back and rearrange some things that we've already done. It's going to make our lives a lot easier in the long run. So I think that's everything from the player. We need to move the camera as well onto this empty game object. And let's go ahead and delete this old player. Okay, and now there's actually no visual element for the player right now. So what I'm going to want to do is actually take Erica, this running character, okay, this model, and I'm going to just make that a child of the player as well. So the player now has two children. This is an empty game object with all the logic. And it has a model as a child. Notice this just has the model here. There's no logic in this one. And then there's main camera, which is another child. And now our view got a little messed up here. So I might want to take Erica and just make sure that X is 0. And you might want to move your player around. I'm actually going to make Erica 0, 0, 0 relative to the player. And I'll move the player down so Erica's on the ground. And now the collider, this collision shape, goes from about the waist down to under the floor. So I want to actually go to this this collider right here, and I can move the center of that collider up. So if I drag on the Y, I can move it up so it's right around the player like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now this right here is what my collision shape looks like. It's a little bit big, right? So if my player was to run through something over on this edge, it would say, oh, the player hit something, but really the arm looks like it's over here. So I can make that collider a little bit narrower as well. So I can decrease the radius so it kind of more fits the player. So notice it's still not a perfect shape, but it's pretty good, and usually pretty good is enough for this. The height could be a little less as well. So I'll let you fiddle with the details to make sure that your collider fits pretty well. And your challenge for this video is going to be to just set up your player so that the logic and the visuals are separated. So notice I have a logic parent here, and I have visual as a child. That's your challenge to make that happen. I will let you do that challenge, and then I will see you in the next video.